And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Hello, I'm meteorologist Peter Chan, coming to you from the National Weather Service in Alaska region, and this is your Alaska aviation weather outlook on this Sunday, September 7th, 2025. And looking for the flight weather coming up here on Monday morning, there's a strong area of low pressure that's going to track the center, at least, just south of the Aleutians Monday. This is a low pressure system that has both gale and storm force winds wrapping around the circulation, along with some moderate to locally heavier rain that will impact especially the central and eastern Aleutians, and that low is going to take a track south of the Alaska Peninsula and eventually end up toward the south side of Kodiak Island in the pre-dawn hours of Wednesday morning. So as this system comes east-northeastward, it will increase again, wind and precipitation along with IFR conditions along the Alaska Peninsula into the Western Gulf. Monday morning we have IFR conditions Western Gulf up into areas of the west central interior up to the Brooks Range North Slope and east of Utqiagvik to about Dead Horse. Also IFR conditions southwest coast YK deltas back across the Aleutian chain. Now Monday afternoon, there's that low circulation, strong winds wrapping around there in the central eastern Aleutians with IFR conditions where you have the lower ceilings and some of the moderate to locally heavier rainfall. And as we look eastward, there could be some pockets of IFR along the northeastern Gulf Coast, northern Panhandle, thanks to the remnants of a front and some moisture working its way eastward. The big ridge of high pressure that brought sunshine and unusually warm and persistently warm temperatures for the past week and a half, nearly 2 weeks over the Panhandle, is finally broken down, and that's going to allow for this low pressure to move up into the Gulf by midweek. And then as we go into Tuesday morning, IFR conditions extensive along the Beaufort Sea coast, North Slope, especially central eastern Brooks Range. We also have IFR conditions along the western half of the Alaska Range, along areas of the Gulf Coast, especially the intercoastal mountains, in through the Panhandle. And then also we expect with that low taking a track eastward, IFR conditions along the Alaska Peninsula, lagging back toward the eastern Aleutians. Tuesday afternoon, the low pressure center down here, this actually may be underdone. There may be more in the way of some IFR conditions also spreading up through a broader portion of the western Gulf. Nevertheless, this system will have wind and rain, and that will overspread the entire Gulf Coast midweek, especially Tuesday night into Wednesday and Thursday. So as we go through Wednesday, you're going to see more in the way of the rain and lower ceilings pushing into the Panhandle by then. So taking a look to the north here on Monday, Anaktuvuk Pass, generally IFR conditions, though MVFR there, south entrance southward. Adigan Pass, generally IFR conditions through the pass, but MVFR to the south entrance. Lake Clark and Merrill may start with IFR becoming MVFR. And then Rainy Pass, MVFR conditions. Again, though, the west arm of the Alaska Range will probably go IFR here as we go through Tuesday night, later Tuesday into Tuesday night. And then when up there at Windy Pass, MVFR conditions. As we go east, dry enough conditions. Isabel may be VFR here on Monday. Mentasta Pass, generally VFR may become MVFR with some moisture creeping up from the south from the Copper River Basin. Then Tanita Pass should generally hold on to VFR conditions on Monday. And Portage Pass as well, though, as you get east of there toward the east entrance and Prince William Sound, MVFR conditions. And finally, the north end of the Panhandle, we're expecting MVFR conditions on Monday. A look at the freezing levels. At the surface for Monday morning, we find the freezing line dipping southward across the western portion of the North Slope and into the western Brooks Range. Otherwise, freezing levels aloft are lower here along the Chukchi Sea coast around the Lisburn Peninsula to Utqiagvik. And we also find a pocket of lower freezing levels over south central. There may also be some rain associated with that. Meanwhile, back to the west, here's this area of low pressure. And we find the cooler pocket of air aloft back toward the western Aleutians, but ahead of it into the central eastern Aleutians, freezing levels bump upwards 10, 12, even 14,000 feet south of the central eastern Aleutians, just an indication of the warmer air coming in ahead of the low and the occluded front wrapping around it. Back here to the east, though, still into western Canada, we have freezing levels aloft 12 to 14,000 feet there over British Columbia. And looking at where we have areas of precipitation with lower ceilings, visibilities, and areas of light to maybe moderate rain at times. Here through the center of the mainland, coming up through the Susitna Valley, crossing the Alaska Range, middle Yukon, up into the central Brooks Range, North Slope. Obviously, better chance of running into some icing, moderate icing aloft above 4,000 and 6,000 feet in the northern part of the mainland, with the warmer air to the south and east above 8,000 and 10,000 feet around the Alaska Range and off toward the northern Gulf. And then back here toward this low that's passing just south of the central Aleutians Monday afternoon. Ahead of it, freezing levels are higher, so there could be moderate icing above 12,000 feet eastern Aleutians, but as you get back underneath the low center, where there's that pocket of cooler air aloft, you get above 6,000 feet, there could be some moderate icing. And looking at the wind field, you can clearly see at 30,000 feet or jet stream level. Here's the upper level circulation of that low with 100-knot jet max in the southeast quadrant of the low. We have a belt of west-northwest winds over the northern Alaska Peninsula through Kodiak Island, entrance into Cook Inlet, and then out over the Gulf around 80 knots. Very clearly at 700 millibars or 9,000 feet, strong wind field, the southern half of that low circulation. Locally, 80-knot winds from the southwest there in the southeast quadrant. That's where the strongest winds are. And we also have some winds of 35 knots off of the panhandle there in the southeastern portion of the Gulf. And then at 3,000 feet, very clearly you can see the strong circulation around this low center that'll be situated around the central eastern Aleutians as we go through Monday afternoon. As this feature slides to the east-northeast, it is expected to track just south of the Alaska Peninsula and end up approaching the south end of Kodiak Island before daybreak as we head into Wednesday morning. So this system will have impacts, likely wind shear, and also going to have some potential for some severe turbulence with those 50-plus knot winds just above the surface. So basically the central and eastern Aleutians up into the tip of the Alaska Peninsula, widespread moderate turbulence, surface to 4,000 feet up here into the Alaska Peninsula, and low-level wind shear. There could also be severe turbulence on Monday in parts of the eastern and central Aleutians ahead and on the back side of that low circulation.